This is amazing!
Thrilled to announce yesterday that we are on to Dragons 2. I know there are many people here who have been lighting candles wanting to go another round on this movie. You know, I think the fact you love the characters in the film as much as you did is why the movie is as good as it is. So we're all very excited and looking forward to more Dragons.
Okay, well, here we are. Interesting spot in the history of the Dragons franchise. So it is my ambition to take certain notions that were put in place in the first film, carry them through into the second film, develop them, kind of answer some unanswered questions about Hiccup's life, about the behavior of dragons, and then trace those forward into a conclusion that will be mind-blowingly dramatic and huge. So if I'm going to jump into this, I intend to do it with the whole scope in mind, with the beginning and the end already in place, so that if we're doing the middle installment, that it really does lead in an exciting and almost a cliffhanger kind of way into the third film. And that's the challenge. April 28th, 2010. A new adventure begins. It is December 9th, 2010, and I have just finished the script. First draft. Ugh. My eyes are very bleary. And I think I've mapped out just about everything that needs to be there, but of course there's always change, and a lot of the character arcs will be refined, as will the moments, but it represents what I wanted to do. There it is. 110 pages.
Well, I spend a lot of time thinking about the poles. I'm really attracted to the Arctic and the Antarctic, and read a lot of stories of adventure and real-life self-rescues like the Shackleton story. So when I was dreaming up ideas for this second installment, my mind started wandering to the north, and what if Hiccup were to journey into the far, deep Arctic? And that's really where the meat of the adventure could take place. So the idea of taking a research trip to Norway had kind of been brought forward, and I was very excited about that because I'd never been to those majestic fjords and just that incredible scenery that Norway has to offer. Far deeper into the Arctic lays a land called Svalbard. It's an archipelago. It's covered in ice and snow and polar bears. It's very remote, and it's really magical. And I was so curious to see what the light looked like there and what those landscapes looked like. Well, I carry a camcorder around with me everywhere, and I try to record just about everything that happens on the movie.
Rush hour traffic.
part of the trip was for Roger Deakins, myself, and James, his wife, and one of our development executives, Greg Taylor. We flew to Svalbard and spent a 6-day snowmobile safari, just snapping photos and really taking in the breadth of that place. And it absolutely found its way into the visuals of the movie.
But it ended up being an amazing sort of bonding experience just on the part of the team itself. And we had a lot of conversations creatively about the movie, not just what the movie would look like, but I think kind of what the movie would really be creatively. And those were the people in that group that were really going to help him on a day-to-day basis execute that vision. I think we used that, the feeling of just being connected because of that trip. I think we talked about it for the next 3 years after that, for the rest of the time that we were on the movie.
Maybe daring up an ocean, but you may have some island. You were talking maybe about some kind of volcanic eruption in the distance.
Yeah.
And maybe they could come across an island having that kind of ice on the beach, you know, like tracing the ice, but they're almost like small iceberg, like that got wrecked, you know.
You mean the ice on the black sand beach?
Yes.
Yeah.
What happened here?
We'd actually put together about 10 or 15 boards that were just random photographs that have either an interesting mood or just some sort of beautiful light and atmosphere.
The yellow in the sky is just beautiful.
But they began to establish kind of a color script for the film that moved from moment to moment. It's driven by the narrative where we wanted to be in terms of the color palette. And it's a really nice way to kind of begin to visualize the film in those early days.
This is Berk. The best kept secret this side of, well, anywhere.
There he is! Huh? The pride of Berk!
This kid came along and told us a whole different way of tolerance and compassion and understanding and unity.
Since Hiccup helped the people of Berk see that dragons could be trained and could be friends with people, Berk has completely changed, and now the dragons are integrated in the everyday life of Berk, and they're their pets, but they're also their partners in crime, and it's in the beginning of the film, it's one big happy family.
If you live on Berk and don't have a dragon, you're now in the minority. You know, it's there's dragon racing, and it's just this beautiful testament to what Hiccup was a part of in the first one, which is this, bridging the gap and bringing the two of them together. And so dragons and humans on the Berk in this movie live side by side. You couldn't have one without the other.
We wanted at the same time the dragons to feel real and believable and tangible, but we also wanted them to have a sense of humor. Like, we needed to make them entertaining and be communicating something that the audience recognizes, that the way, you know, a stand-up comedian caricatures politicians, you know. We wanted to caricature animals or different types of species.
I think of the dragons as if they were actors, as if they were, you know, playing characters, and each dragon has its own set of emotions, and we always want them to sound like real creatures. So
That's a good boy.
I wind up doing a few of the vocalizations myself with, you know, a snarl or a growl or something that sounds a little like a tiger, but then go into the whimper or whatever it is that we need a human for.
Oh, what? Do you want an apology? Is that why you're pouting, big baby boo? We'll try this on. Oh, you feeling it yet?
For every dragon, we kind of mixed and matched certain types of animal behaviors. For example, the Gronkle is a mixture of a bulldog, and a helicopter, and a bumblebee. So it sounds abstract, but when you actually put those elements together, you get a flavor of a character, and that, along with the design, that you get a very recognizable piece of animation.
Working with a production designer like POV means that you get somebody who's thinking about the story as much as they are thinking about the design of the world. And in the case of the Bewilderbeast, we had this idea that we were going to introduce the top of the chain. And this dragon, instead of being a fire-breathing, flying dragon, would actually be a water dragon that swallows back masses of water and then regurgitates it with such extreme force that it tears apart its subject and freezes it mid-splash, leaving these really iconic, arresting images of ice spikes and devastating destruction. It was such a remarkable idea and such a strong visual that we pursued it to the full extent.
In How to Train Your Dragon 1, we were introducing this village, Berk, where most of our characters are living. And this village was at war with the dragons. So the village was having a very aggressive and dry kind of look. We had a lot of defensive towers, catapults, and war machines protecting the village. And of course, all this changed. The village is at peace. It's a dragon-friendly Viking community. And the dragons being this kind of whimsical fantasy element in our story, we had to represent this as well in the architecture. So Yuri started to explore a little bit what the stables could look like. What I really like in what he was developing in there is still a lot of whimsical. There's still enough structure for you to understand, that it's a little bit more architectural, but actually there is all kinds of dragon shape and scale and everything that would go in this. And when you're entering the space, you're literally surrounded by those structures that are going quite high. Yeah. So dragons could jump out of that, could just go up. Primarily made out of wood, but big braces and big metallic, parts to hold it together and to make it look very solid.
It also features the expanded blacksmith stall. It's grown quite a bit from the first movie.
Who finally decided to show up for work. Yay.
Sorry, got held up.
It's just the front part of the shop.
Yep.
The rest of the shop is as well, filled with a lot of different elements.
He's kind of like a big sleepy walrus that takes up all the space, but he's supposed to be keeping the forge going. His dragon's really complainy and...
We had also to create accommodation for all the dragons, stables, feeding station, grooming station, and the dramatically huge bleachers in front of the village for the games, the dragons games. And you can see in the front of the village, right here, the bleachers for the game. They are looking toward the village just because the village is actually the field, the game field. So we decided to go back to the concept of having maybe not really a lookout tower, but something with a horn that could maybe start the game, or just,
It could be the black sheep horn, yeah. So maybe when they say release the black sheep, the guy just raises a flag, and then this guy up there blows the horn.
The black sheep! Come on, Stormfly! We can still win this thing!
We thought, what better way to reintroduce the audience to the island of Berk and all of its updates, but also reintroduce them to the characters, now aged 5 years, than to have this kinetic, visceral obstacle race of a game that kind of flies you by all of the new updates and gives you kind of an introduction to each character. So one of the big challenges in meeting Hiccup 5 years later was to design him as a 20-year-old. And we didn't want Hiccup to suddenly become this strapping, heroic figure. Even though he is the hero of our story, so much of his charm lies in how kind of gangly and awkward and dorky he is. So it was important for us to retain as much of that quality as possible while still making him heroic in his own way.
Part of that was really literally physically aging up the characters. And I think the whole team was very excited about that. and wanted to sort of pick up the challenge on that one.
And so to see them grow up a little bit and how they've evolved and changed, it makes it even more of a coming-of-age story, and it makes the trilogy really special.
I was a big advocate personally of the whiskers, of having him have facial hair. I like that.
And the mustache. The mustache is just...
The mustache by itself.
Yeah.
It reminds me of some actor. I can't think of
He's a Renaissance man.
It's like he's trying to make an attempt to be appealing.
Look, Ruffnut, I'm stylish.
But baby, I grew facial hair for you.
Me too.
Definitely, there's a difference. You can see the difference. They're all just a little bit more confident in themselves and in their bodies and in their uniforms that they've chosen that are very unique to them. And it'll be really exciting to see how that, progresses in the future. But for now, it just feels very much like they're starting to really own themselves physically.
Hiccup just simply thinks differently than everybody else, even though they're all kind of in this place where they can enjoy themselves. And he wants to explore the world, and he's out kind of mapping their known world and seeing how far it goes in every direction. And he's just curious. He's a relentless, restless soul.
I don't want to say ahead of his time, but he maybe doesn't make a ton of sense in the world that he was born into, but has found a way to make it his own.
All designed for exploration, because that's his thing now. Like, if he could just get away from it all, that's all he'd be doing, is mapping the world.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's so cool. That's a cool helmet.
Hiccup always tinkers and builds stuff, and so he's kind of souped up his peg leg a bit.
So he's got like an ice pig foot, he's got a riding foot, and then he's got a general purpose walking foot.
Very cool.
And then other things, like he's got a ring here that he pulls that deploys a fin out the back. And that stabilizes him.
So much cool stuff.
We gave him like a very sophisticated outfit, flying outfit, and he has designed something very unique to perfect, the art of flying.
It's sort of based upon Hiccup being the blacksmith's apprentice, so he's good with his hands, and he has a sort of an advanced design sense, and he's been out there pushing the limits with Toothless. So the idea that early aerodynamics would come as a factor in designing this flight suit that carries with him everything that he needs to map the world while he's out there pushing the boundaries.
Blast! Awesome!
Catch and it...
That's wonderful. That's... Man! Yeah! Yeah!
Hello, Kate. Oh, no problem at all. Is it a fine time now? Okay, great. Well, this is very exciting for us. I'm looking forward to spending some time with you next week. Oh, of course. I wrote the part for you, so it would have been disappointing had you been too busy to do it. Anyone else would have been a compromise.
Oh, come on, Dad. Really?
It really is the best entry I think a character's ever had in cinema history. Masked and mysterious, and you don't know whether she's a force of good or a force of evil. Utterly enigmatic, she rises out of the clouds and as sort of terrifies and bewitches Hiccup. And then he is as surprised, I think, as the audience will be, that in fact this masked, mysterious, half-dragon person, half-human, is in fact his mother.
That's your mother?
Well, now you know where I get my dramatic flair.
Valka's a complicated character in that she's both a mother and a wife, but she was stolen away from those definitions, and she had to take on this new one, living in a dragon colony up in the Arctic. She's been cut off from humans for 20 years, So re-meeting her son and realizing that all this time he was just like her and that she'd passed down some sort of genetic dragon whispering ability is both fascinating and heartwarming to her, but also filled with regret and remorse because she had decided for herself back then that she was cut of a different cloth and she didn't fit in and there was no place for her in Berk. But all this time later, she realized that her son was not only just like her, but he managed to transform Berk. And then when she sees Stoic, he just walks up to her wordlessly and places a hand upon her face, just snuffs all retort and kind of turns it into the most romantic moment in the movie.
We were trying to be a lot more realistic, a lot more naturalistic. So of course, it implies that we had to add a considerable amount of details on those characters, not only details on their outfit, but also work the skin, the eyes, the hair, and make sure that all those would give to the public a sense of credibility, something incredibly believable.
Yesterday, when we flew together, it's like I got back something I didn't know I'd lost. That's the part I'll choose to remember.
Cloudjumper has a really cool way he breathes fire. It's almost a tornado.
Looking at the author, I started to just get down.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great shape to be on land. Like, it's very, very different from the Red Death.
So what Joe is doing right now, he's trying to sync the hair motion with the wing motion.
Cool, that's very subtle work. That's good. I love that you guys think about that.
Well, yeah, it's these little things that, tweak them and they make a lot of difference. And Joe also set up Hiccup's hair, so all the hair you see in the movie is pretty much his setup.
Stoic's dragon, based on a rhino and a scarab, and we're really playing with this idea of having iridescent material.
This mask is interesting. I like this one.
Part of the challenge and the pleasure is that the world is being created in parallel to the way the characters are coming alive through the voice. Every time I would sit down to do another session, and this happened over several years, is that they'd first of all show me where the animation was at and where the drawings were at and what they had hoped to do. So you knew what you were entering into the world through the voice, and so you realised how much or how little you needed to add to that.
I think you'll get just nice, general, good feeling over a mother and a son coming back together. Yeah. But I actually think that if we're trying to make that and build that moment out so much and make that so emotional, that may or may not be the right goal. I think the right goal should be the whole journey that we're going to go on with these two characters. And really the thing that we set up so beautifully at the beginning is, I don't know who I am, but I know there's something out there for me.
Yeah. They don't have a longing for each other because they don't know each other exists.
And the audience is, I don't think,
they're going to grow to love each other but more by the end of the movie.
Any parents and finding their kids is always good. Like, that's always a good emotion, but it's not a true character story emotion that we're building towards earning in the moment of the reuniting.
Right.
It's a much bigger play, I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. We're actually in it with them because we're experiencing the surprise of it, not the emotion of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
The absolute liberating freedom. I mean, if I could do half the things that she did, diving off dragons and jumping from wing to head, balancing on a tooth and then falling through the air. It was wild and exhilarating.
Oh, when I'm up here, I don't even feel the cold. I just feel
free.
This is what it is to be a dragon, Hiccup.
It's all well and good to call yourself a dragon, but can you fly?
He's constructed what is my favorite thing in the new movie, which is this really wicked flying suit. So he can actually not just ride Toothless, but can fly side by side with him, which is pretty special.
Because Vikings believed that dragons really existed, I imagined that dragons lived in the caves. And I used to play in them and imagine what it would be like to be a Viking. And caves, I would explore the caves, and it was a sort of wild and stormy and extraordinary place where you thought the dragons really might exist. So the inspiration for the books came from true life.
This is the great Dragon Master.
Toothless? What's happening?
Drago is all about force.
What?
And so all of his war machines, his ships, his own design is meant to be very, very forceful. He doesn't take the time to get to know anyone. He's not going to look at a creature with compassion. He will simply bend it to its will and force it to become a beast of burden.
And then also we run, hair simulations like this in Maya. We have a real hair system. And we also run like these dreadlocks and also those like little red hairs, like your eyebrows and those little nice secondary hairs too. And then once we go through all those processes, we get something like this. It's a big version of the same shot. Wow. And this came out really well, I think.
So in the design of Drago himself, we actually gave him both an exotic look, because we wanted him to seem like he's not of the Nordic region. He came from a long distance for this goal, but also very unspecific. And so he has a predator-like profile, almost like a beak-like nose, and cold, dark eyes, and then this massive body that is actually covering up a loss of a limb. I think the idea is that Drago wants to appear invincible, even to his own men, so it's something that he's covered up his whole life rather than accommodate and celebrate. Well, I think one of the most heartening things for me was the reception of the first movie, and in particular, the loss of Hiccup's leg, kind of set a new tone here at the studio, and it also did something that is rarely done in animation, where we defy conventional wisdom and do something that felt right for the story. And we were rewarded for it. The audience really connected with that. It added much more credibility to Hiccup's sacrifice and bravery to have sustained an injury, as opposed to walking away from it unscathed. So it allowed us to actually try a few things in this movie that we might have veered away from in the past.
You couldn't save all of me, could you? You just had to make it even. So, peg leg.
Toothless is Hiccup's best friend. This is, not to take away from any of the humans in his life, but they have a symbiotic relationship. They need each other. They're both kind of odd birds, outcasts, and they both had some work done. And so, there's no Hiccup without Toothless.
They know each other better, but they're still discovering things about each other. And I think, if anything, the story at the heart of it is how Toothless and Hiccup discover even more about each other over the course of this new journey that they take together.
You will never hold on to those dragons, you hear me? Drago is coming for them all!
Well, one of the great challenges, and probably one of the scenes I'm most proud of in the film, is the scene where Toothless is forced to blast at Hiccup, and instead Stoic dives in the way to take the blast. Kind of the most interesting story to tell is, how do you take these two best friends and then have them wrenched apart, and not only separated, but turned into enemies, so that when they overcome that, they actually are stronger than ever. And it gives us some real drama,
And for that reason, I love it, because it is very much the heartbeat of this whole grand story we're telling in 3 installments.
It had to be very, very carefully arranged so that the audience could forgive Toothless, could understand that Toothless had really no part in doing this, that he was being controlled remotely.
So, you know, my gut tells me that it's the right thing for the movie. I was really heartened when Steven Spielberg defended it. He said that it was different and it was bold, and he liked it for those reasons. He also thought because we're giving Hiccup a strong mother, she becomes the safety net, so that he can stand to lose the father. So I'm really curious. I'm nervous and curious in the same way that I was nervous and curious about the audience's reaction to Hiccup losing his leg in the first movie. And I feel like the surprise and the emotional weight of that moment is something we're going for here. And for me, that's what the test screening is all about. But that's what's happening.
Oh my gosh, we have our first preview today. Friends and family. So 100 people and
Pretty early to be doing it.
Oh my gosh.
Nervous and excited?
We're going to be watching faces and doing all kind of fun things.
John, how are you feeling?
Excited.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nervous?
No.
Not in the least. How are you feeling about this?
Feels so good it hurts.
Are you nervous about showing a movie this early?
Never. Kidding?
Right?
Late for me. Wish we were doing it 6 months ago.
All right, you're the first audience. Tell me, what did you like about How to Train Your Dragon 2? What did you like?
I liked when Hiccup finds his mother.
Oh, you did? How many of you guys, show of hands, like when Hiccup finds his mother? Oh, wow. Everybody, I heard a dad say favorite part.
So the emotional relationships are working, like they're starting to become things that I'm invested in, and so therefore, from a few months ago, she didn't really buy into the connection with her son, and now she actually is investing in those relationships in that part of the movie in a way that I think is satisfying.
Okay, I haven't heard from parents. What did you guys like about the movie? Dad?
It had a really good story. It did a great job of balancing action and emotion and surprising twists.
Does the movie have a message?
Yes.
So you tell me, what do you think the message is?
Friendship is the strongest bond.
Friendship is the strongest bond.
I like Hiccup's dad because he's trying to do what's right for Hiccup, but then he's wrong, and then Hiccup's right. And then basically he risked his life for Hiccup.
Look at all that.
And it had to be handled with a really delicate touch, and I think we managed to pull it off. I think that people's hearts break for Toothless when he's being shooed away by Hiccup, and then consequently they break for Hiccup when we realize that he's just chased off his best friend and in this mess of emotion. And so I think you're just waiting for these two to get back together. So I'm really proud of that one.
Thank you for saving my life.
That was awesome. Beautiful.
Now let me return the favor.
It's Kit Harington. And at first, because there was an interesting character change as well, at first he was really bad at comebacks. Yeah. He just sort of he'd get into an argument and then he'd just lose. He didn't know how to. He was just not good. He wasn't very smart.
Yeah, very, very physically capable, but when it came to verbal battle, he failed miserably. Yeah.
I am Eret, son of Eret.
Eret is this very self-assured guy that he thinks of himself as the most knowledgeable guy about dragons around.
An interesting character in that he's introduced as a threat.
Tie those legs up!
They have been successfully trapping dragons for Drago for some time. But Eret
has kind of a misplaced loyalty in a way. There's more substance than you first allot him when you meet him.
Ha! They all say that.
He thinks that he knows more than anybody, but of course he doesn't have any inkling of how deep a connection to dragons can go. Sort of falling in with Hiccup and the other teens in the film, he gets to see firsthand just how attached they are to their dragons, and then he has a change of heart and winds up becoming very close to the dragons as well.
He's really turned out to be a great character. Dean had a real vision for what Eret would be, but I think it was a combination of Kit Harington's voice and the animator, Dave Torres.
Oh, I'm Eret, son of Eret. Last in a long line of Erets, sons of Erets. Finest trappers in any land. Though I dare say I may be the finest.
And we wanted to keep his arms exposed because that's what Roughnut is taken with when she first sees him and she makes comments.
Oh my. Me likey. Take me.
Fire!
What you're searching for isn't out there, Hiccup.
It's in here. Maybe you just don't see it yet.
They're both incredibly independent spirits in their own rights, but are incredibly supportive of one another. And Astrid is Hiccup's #1, defender and champion, but also her own leader in her own right.
Gotcha! Ha-ha! Whoa! Astrid!
Well played! That's my future daughter-in-law.
There's such great words for Stoic. He's burly, he's brawny, he's hairy, he's a mountain of a man.
Thank you.
For you, my dear, anything.
His campaigns and conquests are the stuff of legend in the Viking world. What he's done, and you feel that the second you see him. Here's somebody to be reckoned with.
Come on, Gobber! Right behind you, Stoic!
I actually like acting in animated films because you can really go inside your own head. You're not distracted by the lights or the cameras or the other people or the grip eating a sandwich or anything like that. You're really in the world. You can close your eyes and be in the world.
You sing your name with love and fury, so help me rise from the depths of Valhalla. Now you've taken right place at the table of kings. A great man has fallen, a warrior, a chieftain, a father, a friend. Okay.
I think it's our aesthetic style to try to play the acting as honest as we can. And so there's a lot of observation that goes into the human acting in particular. You can take Hiccup as an example. The way he's performing those lines in the funeral is about as authentic as you can really get. I mean, for the moment, you stop thinking that you're watching an animated film, and it just feels like a really good actor performing a beautiful scene.
I was so afraid of becoming my dad.
I'm not the chief that he wanted me to be, and I'm not the peacekeeper I thought I was. I
don't know.
And I think that's all credited to the incredible animators that we have and their attention to detail and their search for truth in their work.
You are taking an audience into that world like they've never had an opportunity before, like they're really there.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my God, great scale. Thank you again, you're amazing. And I'm so glad you were able to kiss the character with your special touch because he's so memorable and everybody notices it.
You're too nice.
Can you play your last shot on the screen?
Yeah, sure.
You be my wife.
Go forever.
You be my wife.
Would you be my wife?
You be my wife.
A warrior, a chieftain, a father, a friend.
You came early into this world. It was such a wee thing. Oh, so frail.
If you're not making yourself laugh or making yourself cry, how are you going to move other people?
A chief protects his own. We're going back.
With what?
He took all the dragons?
Not all of them.
Well, we definitely have some big action scenes. They're driven by the characters, and I think that's what makes them work in the context of the movie. It's the fact that you can really follow the hero through the story, and you can jump from a quiet moment into a chaotic moment, but always feel like you know what Hiccup is thinking and what he's after and who he's seeking out and what determination he has.
We need to get those two apart.
That's what makes the scenes play, I think, as well as they do.
The battle was epic. And we don't typically do that kind of thing in animation.
This is actually the geometry to use in effects to create the clouds, so we can really control what the composition is.
That's amazing.
So 2 years from now, we may have this actually on film.
Chief protects his own.
This one had some really big battle sequences, but just like with the characters aged up 5 years and changed, we really brought everything. We brought the whole world up.
We have something different with this movie, and it was there in the first one as well, which is in place of a laugh every minute, we have wonder. And to me, and for the movies that I loved growing up and that I still love today, wonder is more important. It's fun while you're laughing there in the movie theater, but you don't necessarily remember it when you leave. But movies that are filled with wonder tend to live with you for a long time, and they certainly do with me. So John Powell wrote one of the best scores I've ever heard for Dragon 1, and I was so excited to work with him again on this second installment. But he too had the same very daunting challenge of building upon that. And strangely, he managed to do it. I don't know how he did, but I think the score for Dragon 2 is the best work he's ever done. It takes melodies that we know and love from the first film, and it's complemented with, obviously, new melodies to support Valka and to support Hiccup's coming of age and the idea of the alpha. The mix of them has such a great sophistication to it. I don't know how he does it, but he's just a magician of a composer. Jonsi, who is he's an incredibly talented musician, songwriter, and in particular he was writing that really sort of thematic, wonderful piece that introduces Hiccup flying with Toothless at the beginning of the film. It's called Where No One Goes, and he had just been putting together a demo when I went by to visit him, and in the moment he just stood up and started singing where the lyrics would go, and the whole thing just transformed and was happening right in front of my eyes, and I was just dying because I thought, why didn't I bring the camera? He probably would have shut down and we wouldn't have wanted to be recorded, but it was just one of those moments that I wish I had on tape.
Wow. Ava's she hasn't been moved by any of it.
Well, you're gonna have to work a lot harder for her. That's it.
She's had them all over and over. She's bored already.
It is Thursday, January 17th, 2013, and I'm about to go pick up Yonzi, the frontman of Sigaros, and drive him over to John Powell's studio, where they are going to play back the very first melody for a very important tune in the movie. And so it's a very cool moment. They spent a day just jamming together and coming up with a melody that they both like. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm still going! I'm done. So it's just brightens the whole room a little.
Yeah.
So with the tempo and the harmony, we can kind of bring it out of the darkness.
Yeah. Wow. The dogs approve.
To me, the Valka and Stoic animation in that moment is just, you're just in it. It's so believable. It's so emotional. But I think more importantly is Hiccup's reactions. I think in that scene, if you watch Hiccup, you're just feeling for him. You know how to feel. It's just, he's just overwhelmed by the fact that he's seeing his mom and his dad together in that way for the first time in his life, really. Super special, super amazing job by the animators.
I'll swim and sail on savage seas with ne'er a fear of drowning.
After the scene's happened, you feel the love. At the time, you're just kind of giggling and laughing and finding it very charming. That's how it should be. It's later on that you get that real feeling of the sentiment. It's great.
So I think one of the biggest ambitions was to be bold with the relationship of Hiccup and Toothless, because that relationship is so crucial to the whole trilogy, to break it apart.
It's me. It's me. I'm right here, bud. Come back to me.
For Toothless to be lost to Drago and the dominance of the Alpha and forced to carry out its will just takes it to such a broken extreme. So the moment in which Toothless and Hiccup come face to face, flapping in the sky above Berk, is one that I think we're emotionally teed up for as the audience, because we know that Hiccup has it in him to break through this hypnosis that Toothless is currently under. And so with every word, every sort of well-chosen look and the touch, we've got such belief in what's about to transpire. So when we see the defenses being broken down and Toothless coming out of that hypnotic trance, and it's like such an exhilarating moment, and I think such a heartwarming moment to really kind of brings out a good cheer.
Attaboy, that's it! I'm here! No!
Okay, so it's just about midnight on Friday, May 2nd, 2014, and we have just completed the sound mix for How to Train Your Dragon 2. The picture was completed in LA today, so that makes the movie done. That's it, it's finished, it's ready for the world, and it's been quite the adventure. I'm here in my little apartment on Skywalker Ranch, and earlier today we showed the film to some of our friends, and you know, it was moving and enthralling, and parts of the movie made them cry, which is probably the only instance in which I'm happy when my friends are crying. But I hope it's an indication of how it actually plays for the rest of the world, and just very eager to see how it's received. I'm very, very proud of it, and I think it came together beautifully. It's such talented teams have worked on this movie. And I'm in such awe of them. Signing out.
It is our final animation dailies. So we have the whole team here.
Angela, you are an angel.
Kristen and Tyler and Elmer. We'll be able to celebrate with you in person soon.
Thanks for always remembering to turn and look at us.
That's great. All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Well, you guys know how much I love you and how inspiring it is for me to just be around talent and the energy and the optimism and the creativity. It's just incredible, and you guys have completely elevated the medium, I think. Can't wait for the world to see it. It's gonna be pretty incredible, I think.
You never cease to amaze me, bud. Thank you. No, it's incredible. It's one of the best things that ever happened to me. To be involved in a movie that means as much as How to Train Your Dragon does to people. You know, I could retire tomorrow because I was part of it. And I just know the things that I liked when I was a child, books, you know, movies, whatever, and you don't like anything more than when you like it as a child. And so I know that I had at least something to do with a movie that has impacted kids the way that this one did. So it's just like, yeah, I'm a very lucky man.
I did find the film exhilarating and uplifting, and it's a riot of, it's such a rollicking adventure. And all of those characters who were obviously much younger in the first film, they're wild and unruly, but they believe in something. And I think they take you on a journey of saying, you know, we actually do believe that a peaceful world can be created, and we're going to set about achieving it, and we're going to bring our parents along.